We must imagine this lady is happy. It's a weekday, and dragging our tired bodies, we finally make it home. Slumped on the couch, we start scrolling those short videos. The man who constantly climbed upward, pushing a boulder until it fails, is being distracted by social media again and again, in all sorts of ways, through games, miniseries, and text. People use various different methods, either playfully and respectfully, to interpret Sisyphus within their hearts. However, this construction did not start just today. For 2,800 years, since the core narrative of the Odysseus was written, people have always ended to the story of Sisyphus, just as the passage of time has carried him into the rock-like figure. But few people ever ask the question, why Sisyphus? In the outside, the main purpose of Odysseus' journey to the underworld was to seek out the famous prophet Tiresias. Sisyphus was merely one of the three sinners Odysseus saw was suffering eternal punishment for offending the gods. Yes, the eternal punishment Sisyphus received was not the only one. The three sinners Odysseus saw were Tantalus, who was punished for severing the meat of his own son to the gods; Tantalus, who was punished for attempting to assault the gods; Leto. Sisyphus, as we discussed earlier, he is endlessly rolling a huge boulder up the mountain. He is not special at all. In fact, compared to another two, his penalty is quite mild. It is even the only punishment that allows a brief moment to catch one's breath on the way back down. So let's get back to the question, why Sisyphus? Next, we will use the three chapters, the motto, the lie, and the unyielding, to answer it from a Chinese culture perspective. Chinese mythology and Western mythology have different definitions of motto. In Chinese myths, almost all deities origination from the human world. Mortals can ascend and become gods for certain reasons, and the gods can also be demoted back to mortals for certain reasons. However, Western mythology is different. The gods are more like an actual setup, an unchangeable, inherent combination like wind, thunder, earth, and fire. They might be punished for a temporary mistake, but in most cases, their divinity always remains. Sisyphus, however, was a person who was truly mental. A mental who challenged the gods' supreme power. Tiresias served his son's meat to the gods. Out of the arrogance his statutes gave him, the giant Tydeus tried to release the gods out of the lust his body gave him. But ultimately, they will proactively use the privileges of their status of professional power to infinger up on the rights of others. Sisyphus alone is different. Also a soft god. What he did was fight back when his own rights were violated, and the source of his counterattack was not power and violence, but wisdom and persistence. Thus, our mortals project ourselves onto Sisyphus. We believe in our hearts that Sisyphus is innocent. The gods, however, treated a spirit of resistance as the original sin that Sisyphus has to repay. In their eyes, Sisyphus must atone, regardless of whether he truly carried a sin. Of course, we all know this is the endless repayment. There is a Buddhist story widely circulated in China. Mulian rescues his mother, which, like Sisyphus, tells a story of atonement and redemption. Mulian, a disciple of the Buddha, is revered in Buddhism as the venerable one, foremost in supernatural powers. After achieving success in his special practice, Mulian wanted to repay his deceased mother, but he discovered that his mother, Lady Chinti, was not in heaven. He searched relentlessly and finally found his mother in the Advanced Hill, the most organizing and darkness of all hells. It was then he learned that his mother's slandering and disrespect of monks during his lifetime has led to this fate. At this time, Muli's mother was extremely thin, her stomach bullied like a drum, yet her soul was as slender as a needle. The Janus was pouring mental air into her mouth. Deeply distressed, Muli used his supernatural power to conjure a bowl of human rice. But just as his mother was about to eat it, the earthly rice instead turned into hot charcoal, impossible to swallow. Muli was completely desperate, but he didn't give up on saving his mother. He organized the Wulan Bana festival in the human world, chanting speeches to liberate his souls of the dead. In hell, he searched for food his mother could eat. Day after day passed like this. The act of help his mother achieve liberation became the boulder that Mulin was pushing. So let us ask a question. Is Mulin happy? Or rather, must we believe that Mulin is happy? Unlike the Sisyphus myth, Mulin eventually achieved his mother's redemption for her sins through his piety and perseverance, guided by the Buddha. So, I think Mulin and Sisyphus are the same. They must be happy while undergoing their seemingly desperate commitment. One accepts his fate, the other knows his fate, and both treat the process of accepting fate as fate itself. Thus, in their mortal capacity, they internalize the most desperate, the most prolonged, and most foolish process of atonement into the result itself. Every step they took was a step towards achieving the result. So it's succeeded every day. They are happy every day. You might ask, in stories of Sisyphus and Mulin, the result is real and forcible. But if we are always being deceived by a false outcome, does our modest effort still have meaning? In 2018, David Graeber published Bullshit Jobs, a theory. He interviewed many people in the book who candidly said, I sit in the office for 8 hours a day, but the truly meaningful things don't take more than an hour. I knew what I do is worthless, but I have to pretend to be busy. It tells us that the most terrible things is not hard labor, but the moment you realize that your job shouldn't exist at all. We have to admit, this kind of spiritual torture is more painful than being unemployed because you know you're wasting your life. Meaningless work is poison to the soul. In China, we refer to the goals described by leaders which seem to promise huge returns but are actually unattainable as drawing a big pie. The meaning is to use a pie that can only be looked at but not eaten, to entice people to keep working. This is the biggest dilemma we face in our careers and lives. The result we pursue are often fails. In China, there's a story about a miserable person disturbed by a false outcome. It's called Wugang Fields the Osmanthus Tree. The arc of the story is almost identical to that of Sisyphus. However, the Chinese people have never regarded him as a mortal hero in the same way they regard Sisyphus. During the Han Dynasty in China, there's the man studying Taoism named Wu Gang. Because he repeatedly made mistakes in his studies, he was banished to the Moon Palace. He was commanded to chop down an osmanthus tree 500 jang. The Heavenly Emperor promised that if he could fell the tree, he would gain immortality. However, he was tricked. The osmanthus tree possessed a self-healing ability. With every oak stroke, the cut would immediately close up. Endlessly, day after day, year after year, Wugang could never fell the tree. This turned Wugang's punishment into a futile, eternal sentence. In folklore, the shadow of the moon is the image of Wugang still non-stop felling the osmanthus tree. He was completely deserved. No matter how hard he tried to drop the tree, he could not feel it. The force goal and the endless sunk cost make it impossible for him, unlike Sisyphus, to turn the path under his feet into a series of small, achievable goals. The meaning of Wugang's labor was both giving and taken away by his higher powers. He had no choice, but he predicted no results. In other words, his labor is symbolic. Its purpose is simply to maintain order. This is strikingly similar to the situation of modern white-collar workers, filling out forms, attending meetings, giving reports every day, seemingly doing work, but actually just maintaining the stability of process. Ultimately, meaning is replaced by formality. So, it's a return to Sisyphus. The reason Carmen said, we must imagine Sisyphus happy, I believe, is not to make us blindly endure. Instead, it's a reminder to us, in seemingly homeless adversity, to see through the temptation and dissipation and find that unicorn, a charitable goal that belongs alone to you. Never let any carefully woven line hinder your fight for life. There is only one true heroism in the world. That's to love life still, after recognizing its truth. In God's punishment of Sisyphus, there is a major bug. The gods did not stipulate the time for Sisyphus to descend the mountain or the time for him to start pushing the boulder again. Sisyphus could escape. The time spent descending was enough for him to devise a clear way to disturb the gods, just as he had done in the past, leaking Zeus' secret, chaining up Xanatus, disturbing Persephone. In Sisyphus' life, his elaborate schemes come effortlessly, without needing to think. With Sisyphus' cleverness, escape plans would be endless if he wanted them. But now, what has he no longer want to escape? Because he realized that when facing a deeply entrenched problem, clever little tricks are like insects clinging to an elephant. They can make the elephant unbearable inchy, but they could not kill it. What Sisyphus is doing is a general resistance despite kill injustice. In Chinese mythology, there are many examples of resistance. The Jinwei filling the sea is the closest to Sisyphus' resistance, and it is even more as a story of remolding and reshaping the rules. Jinwei is a small bird of legend, originally the youngest daughter of the sky god Yan Di, who ruled the sun and the southern lands. A little girl would look down from the sky at the sea blow every day. He yearned for the ocean and wanted to go there to play and explore. One day, when her father was not looking, the little girl actually went to the seaside. However, a strong gale suddenly arose. A huge wave surged towards the girl, and she was instantly swallowed by the sea. The dead girl was profoundly confused. She didn't understand why the ocean was so fierce and so merciless. She planted the seeds of anger and defiance in her heart. Her soul transformed into a small bird shaped like a coral with a white beak and red talons. The tiny Jinwei started to fly from the place, while she drowned towards the mountains. Each time she returned to the sea, she carried a small trick and a pebble in her mouth. She dropped the tricks and the pebbles into the vast ocean over and over, rain and shine. She never stopped. It turned out that when the Jinwei bird was born, a great vow was born in its heart. Merciless sea, you took my life, and countless innocent lives were being swallowed by you. In the future, I must fill you up. The ocean watched Jinwei's actions and couldn't help but laugh. The sea said, "Little bird, just give up. You'll keep carrying things for 10,000 years, but you still won't be to feel me." Jinwei did not speak. She just kept repeating her actions. She shot silently to herself. Even if it takes until the end of time, I will feed you up. You took my life, but mine will live on. And I carry is not just a trick or a stone, but my determination for revenge and my unyielding spirit. Sisyphus and Jinwei, in the face of seemingly endless difficulty, always choose to resolutely execute their self-will. This is the most powerful resistance against unfairness. It is neither painful nor happy. It simply tells that unfairness. One day, through the day-to-day execution, they finally stopped caring about the unfairness. From the moment of execution, they rebuilt a new rule until they determined by their will. Do you remember our question? Why Sisyphus? I think most importantly, Sisyphus offers us ordinary people a key to escape hopelessness. We may be ordinary or exceptionally gifted, but most of us will ultimately be shaped by experience and carved into the image of a rock. But we are not without choice. To be a noobstone or stone of resolute will, that is solely up to your choice. Trust me, when you shed the exterior shell of modern distraction of the classics and try to bend down and touch the crevices into our psyche, Sisyphus was always been there. One day.